I'm not surprised that a lot of people would think that Black Muslims don't exist.
People are always asking me, oh, you sleep with your hijab on? Or you shower with your hijab on? Like,
another thing that we need to talk about when talking about Black Muslims is intersectionality.
You're Black.
You're Black. You always knew you were Black? No, I didn't.
You're Muslim.
am I going to sleep with it?
Only if
Shower
I'm
with
lazy,
it.
I go to sleep with it.
So my hijab will get soaking wet in the shower? Ah, now wow.
Also, you're a woman.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Worth.
Hi guys, my name is Amina.
Assalamu alaikum, bro. My name is Gafar.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Rakaya.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Tunde.
My name is Ghania, but you can call me Ghani.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Latifa.
My name is Abdul Gayat Shegun Mayaleke.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mansura.
My name is Abdul Fatai Olarin.
You're here with Missy
And Fatine.
Assalamu alaikum, y'all. My name is Muhammadu.
Being a Black Muslim is strong.
is a blessing.
Different.
It can be very, very challenging and intimidating.
It's layered. It's intersectional.
Beautiful thing.
Interesting.
It's often overlooked.
Being a Black Muslim is powerful. They're two underrepresented and I guess you could say minority groups, but the community that you find within those groups and the way they intertwine with each other and the way that it forms my identity, I find that to be a powerful thing, and some people think it's not. So I'd like to emphasize that it is.
Being a Black Muslim is a complex journey. The reason why I say that is due to my own experiences as a Black African Muslim woman, as a specifically Nigerian American Muslim woman. Growing up, I did not like the intersections that I was born with. I had a lot of anti-Blackness. I had a lot of insecurities.
Islam literally translates to peace. And it's ironic because we're associated with like terrorism and like oppression. And
Islam is like my heart, you know? It's like my soul. It's where I really feel, where I like belong.
Like, listen, I have anger issues, and a lot of adults are like, people who read Quran for years are like, you know what, read Quran, yeah, it'll solve your problem. Like when you're a kid, you don't really believe it, but I'm telling you, read some Quran. When you're mad, it will help you.
Islam honestly keeps me grounded. Any difficulty I have, anything that I'm going through, I don't go straight to people anymore. I go straight to pray.
Oftentimes, because Islam is one of the major religions of the world, oftentimes we restrict the definition of Islam to religion, but it transcends that.
Islam to me means life. Life in everything, not just life for me.
Outside doing just the rituals of Islam, the 5 daily prayer, the 5 pillars of Islam, is more into it. It encompasses on how I live my life, how I relate to people. My neighborhood, people are close to me, people are far. And my responsibility to my family, to my community, to the nation where I live and to where I come from.
Islam is healing. Oftentimes when we think of self-care, we stop it and limit it to facials or things for the physical appearance. And that's fine, that is a part of self-care, but oftentimes we don't look past that, or we're not taught to look past that. And religion, spirituality, Islam is a form of self-care that I've begun to latch on.
It's how you treat your neighbor. It's how you present yourself. It's the way you love. It's peace. It's...
No other book will make a grown man cry like the Quran. No other book is being memorized more than the actual Quran. Authors don't even know their book.
Within the Quran, within Islam, the heart is emphasized a lot of times. And the reason for that is because Allah wants us to look into ourselves, do this work of introspection, do this work of reflection to really understand ourselves.
also, another thing that came to mind when I think of Islam is justice, especially in the environment that we're in right now. You see all these like sheikhs coming out at like rallies and stuff, which is a good thing because now people are like here to hear what Islam says, because it literally says in the Quran and in the way the Prophet was, everything was about justice, that you should stop the oppressors from oppressing the oppressed.
It's not one thing. Blackness is not one thing. Being Black is not one thing. It's not something that like, it's not your one and only definition.
Blackness to me is everything people who oppress my kind hates.
I think Blackness is art and creativity and expression and all those things that make us who we are.
Blackness is swag. It's, you walk with a little pep in your step.
Black, we really are just comfortable and ourselves around each other, and it's a beautiful thing.
My favorite Nigerian food is iyan and efo. Also jollof rice.
Jollof rice, so good.
White rice and ayamashi.
I don't know about that.
Obviously, like, we're not gonna ignore that being Black does come with brutality. You face discrimination in literally everything that you do, especially in today's time, as we're seeing.
Yeah.
With and we can name like people. The list goes on. Breonna Taylor, George Floyd. Like,
white supremacy is in the air that we consume. So we ourselves consume that air and have to go through this journey of relearning.
The hardest thing about being a Black Muslim in America is, let's start off with being Black.
The way the world views Black people, thugs, ghetto, Black on Black crime, poor, nasty, lazy, welfare.
But sometimes I feel like I didn't fit into the Black community. Like, I've been told that like I sound like a white girl, and what does that mean? And
it is when I go to this country I see Blackness as a kind of disadvantage.
Being Black in America is not the same experience as being Black elsewhere, particularly for those of us who migrated from Africa as a continent, particularly me from Nigeria. I mean, the realization of being Black actually manifested when you get here.
We haven't even touched upon what it means to be a Black woman, period, in this country. Angela Davis talks about this term, trap of loyalty, where Black women feel the need to diminish their oppression in order to uphold Black men, because Black men are perceived as the targets of anti-Blackness in this country, when we know that's not true. Everybody in the Black community is affected by anti-Blackness, affected by white supremacy. And with women, we have a double oppression being faced also by misogyny, by patriarchy. A lot of Black women are not being fought for as hard as Black men are being fought for, but that's another conversation in itself.
And then being Muslim.
The way the world views Muslims, Black people included, all terrorists or these predators, they hate women, you know what I'm trying to say?
It's just a combination of those two things together. It's just, in America, it's tough.
You don't fit in any one particular community or category.
There's not much people in the same room that's gonna look like you, and so there's a lot of pressure for you to kind of represent.
the first hardest thing for me was just building that connection with God and building that connection with my identity as a Black Muslim woman, as a Black woman, as a Black person, as a Muslim. So
we have to deal with so many misconceptions.
Entering activism and having this passion for education has helped me to unlearn anti-Blackness and what is anti-Blackness. But then I began to realize now within my college journey that I now need to unpack what it means to be a Muslim and what it means to be a Black Muslim and the Islamophobia and racism that comes with both of those two.
It's just like two different identities that are constantly oppressed in the United States. But I also feel like sometimes they might be at war with each other, even if they don't have to.
I can never just go to my Muslim community and expect that they will fully understand what it means to deal with Black girl problems.
my father is, Cape Verdean, my mom is Moroccan, so I am African American by definition. But I was raised with my mom because my parents are divorced. So my childhood was more focused on being maybe Muslim more so than being a Black Muslim. So it just took me a little bit more time and to kind of become be around people that were also Black Muslim for me to realize my place and who my people were.
So intersectionality in essence, or what Dr. Suad Abdul Kabir calls triple consciousness, which is another step to W.E.B. Du Bois's double consciousness, talks about this negotiations constantly, simultaneously. Intersectionality cannot be divided. I cannot just be black one day, Muslim one day, woman one day. It's all combined. So all of those layers has to be the hardest thing of being a black Muslim in America.
If you walk into a room with a lot of other black people, the vast majority of them are going to be Christian.
Yep.
So it's like you don't feel connected in that way. And then when you walk into a room with other Muslims, a lot of the time, unless it's like a strict black Muslim community, odds are they're going to be Arab people, and Arabs can also have a lot of racism in their own community. So when you walk into a Muslim community that's not vastly black, then you feel that racism in that sense. So it's like the only way that a black Muslim can truly feel comfortable is in the presence of other black Muslims. But then it's like in the black Muslim community, there's a lot of sexism as well. So then I had to go and find my black Muslim women. And it's just like you have to keep digging deeper until you find that group that actually fits with you.
I guess in America, a lot of people don't know that, Muslims can also be black. They see Muslims and they think, a beard, kufi, jalbab, that's all they think.
When like I started to wear the hijab and like people were confused and they were like, oh, you're Muslim? I thought you were black though. And I'm like, I would look at other people, but other people would look the same way. I'm like, wait, y'all serious? Like
you're given all these facts, especially going to an Islamic school where we're given all this information about like what our religion means, like what our the basis of our religion is, but kind of relating it to yourself, applying it to your own life, like finding the parts of the religion that really stick with you and practicing those is different. That's really how you become a Muslim, how you become Islamic. And then finding on top of that how to include your identity as a black person in it is another another layer, another step, because you go to an Islamic school and they tell you about the religion, but they don't tell you about yourself, your identity, your ethnicities, because Islam is so mixed.
Also, the question, are you a revert? But even by other Muslims that are not black, other Muslims in your own community, they still look at you like you're an outsider, which doesn't make any sense. Why is my Muslimness any less than yours? Why do you automatically assume that because of my skin color, my religion, my Islam, the way I practice is different from yours, or I have to have turned to Islam?
And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even said to in the Quran that the best among you is the one with the best taqwa, with the best fear of Allah. So it doesn't matter, Arab, non-Arab, black, yellow, regardless of your color, the one that has the best fear of Allah. The fear of Allah we're talking about is how you relate with other people. What you feel for other people must be exactly what you feel for yourself, just in everything that you do.
You look at me and I am black, African, Muslim, and a woman. So we're combining race, we're combining misogyny, and we're incorporating Islamophobia. And as a black African Muslim woman, we are invisibilized. I say that because we are very much visible. We are here, but there's not a lot of work being done on us. There's not a lot of research being done on black Muslims as a whole due to Islamophobia, due to racism, due to all of this anti-blackness.
When I was in college, I was in undergrad, I went to a Catholic college, Boston College, and I was learning a lot about black history. But for some reason, I was like, there's a whole narrative that's missing. I went hard to research everything I could about black Muslims. And what I find is unfortunate is that, as a Muslim, you're not really taught the history of the black Muslims.
We grow up learning that we come from a history that begins as slavery and continues to today.
When you think about Muslims and you think about Islam, you think about Arab people, even Southeast Asian people, instead of thinking about black people.
For example, I learned a lot about the slave trade and how when Muslims were brought to America, a lot of them were forced to convert to Christianity. Some of them didn't. Some of them revolted. Some of them escaped and actually went to Haiti and began revolutions in Haiti. I feel like our history is so deep, and it's unfortunate that we don't know it.
I feel like society doesn't give you much room to make errors and
Okay, so there's two expectations when it comes to being a black Muslim. One, I have to be this perfect being because that's what people see me as, is, you know, Muslims, they see them as this perfect people. And then being black, I have to be outgoing and, you know, provide for my family. I don't have a problem with that, but, you know, that's what people see me as.
We have a lot of Muslim professionals, Muslim families, Muslim children who are making great, fantastic contribution to the society peacefully. But these are not being mentioned. It's always the focus on the violence, on the crimes of the very, very minute population that occurs across board in other communities as well.
And sometimes you do get just genuine people asking you questions. Like while I was in school, like I've had friends just ask me, oh, do you wear that for a cultural reason, for a religious reason? Just because they want to know, they're just curious. And those things, those questions are definitely ones that I'm willing to answer, but sometimes you just get tired.
What comes to being a Black Muslim woman is that you kind of have to always explain yourself. Even though that's not my responsibility, but it has to be done at some time.
So it's like, oh, so can you explain to us why we oppress you? And it's like, I think you should know the answer to that.
It can be a lot because, you know, you have to defend your religion and then you have to defend your race.
So with being a Black African Muslim woman, as I have said, it's multiple intersections, it's multiple layers of being Black, me being Nigerian, me being Muslim, me being woman, me being dark skinned, me wearing a hijab. It just goes on. And me myself, I had done research on the identity development of Black African Muslim women in college, where I interviewed about 10 Black African Muslim women. And what I analyzed is that there's a lot of negotiations that Black African Muslim women need to do. They need to negotiate between Islam and themselves. They need to do this negotiation between their racial identity, between their ethnic identity. They have to do this negotiation between their family and all these different multiple standards that they have to live up to, including their much larger African community. Because with being an African, our society is not individualistic, it's collective, meaning as our group identity, we cannot just think of ourselves, but we need to think about how our reputations affect the community in itself.
And then being like Nigerian, there's cultural aspects that conflict with religious aspects. I feel like that, okay, so like in Islam, you're not supposed to kneel down to anybody other than God. And so, but like in the Nigerian culture, out of respect, you know, like you kunle, you like bend down and you like out of respect. And so there are like some Nigerians who like don't see any issue with you not doing issue, where like sometimes you want to have a conversation with somebody in your community, but it's like
you don't want to go too far.
It's not even that you don't want to go too far, but it's like anything that is disagreeable to their opinion is just like you're being disrespectful.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's hard, especially like when you want to grow as a Muslim, you want to grow as a person.
Yeah.
And you want to ask questions and you want to do what's right. And
in Morocco too, because you can't disrespect the king. So in a sense, you can't disrespect, you know, your elders. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you want to show respect to God and your elders. So it's like, how do you balance that?
I grew up most of my life in West Africa as well, whereas there, being a Black Muslim, in the specific country of Gambia, like being a Black Muslim is the majority of the population. So it really depends on your location. But yeah, with like in terms of America in particular, I feel like it's very hard to be a minority within a minority group for two different reasons. Just all the Black Muslims out there, embrace your identity. Like it's a very beautiful thing to be.
There are a lot of positives to being a Black Muslim woman, especially.
In understanding my intersections, I begin to understand that I come from a lineage of power.
Because of the things that Black people have had to overcome, I think Blackness is also thicker skin. It's rallying for your people. It's strength. You know, it's strength.
One thing that I learned about the Moors in Spain, they were Black Muslims, you know, and they were responsible for a lot of the inventions that were created that we now take for granted. You know, we don't know, we don't read about them, but Black Muslims are responsible for a lot. And I just hope that more people take the time to learn their history.